Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We are here as promised for our webinar, which is going to be very, very fruitful. Feel at home. Those who might need a pen and a paper, please grab it very fast before we dive into the deep discussion. I have a special guest for you, like you saw on the post or on the ad, Brother Abdul Majid, who is a very a long time friend, Alhamdulillah, and right now he's in the UK. He's an expert in finance. This is why we brought him on this matter: Islamic economics and Islamic finance and finance in general. And we are going to be tackling some of the most important things that we believe you need to know about Islam and money. Brother Abdul Majid, you're most welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
How is the UK?
Yeah, I think it's very cold here, but I think we are adapting ourselves right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
So how have you been? How is everything?
yeah, everything is fine. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing well. I finished my degree, and now, yeah, I'm doing very well.
Alhamdulillah. We have actually your audience is very big. People are watching from all over the world, and our viewers are used to some of our videos that are recorded in Luganda, which is our local language. But today we shall be using English throughout because our brother Abdul Majid, who is our guest, does not understand Luganda. And I believe most of our viewers understand English. So you will bear with us, inshallah. So, brother Abdul Majid,
Yes.
we promised people, our viewers, that we are going to be talking about uh, Islam and money.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would think that religion is not money, right? When we
Yeah.
speak about religion, how does business come in?
Yeah.
So we need to establish the relationship between Islam and money. And I believe this will take us into the deep, or not so deep, uh, concepts of Islamic economics. What is that? What does Islam say about money? What does it mean? Is there any relationship? And the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me, and I want to thank all the audience today. Because I want to talk about Islam and money, and I think first of all you have to have an overview about Islam to establish, the background, the general background about Islam is, defined in the hadith of Jibril. How when Jibril comes to the Prophet, the angel Gabriel, and ask him about Islam, the Prophet defined Islam, peace be upon him, that Islam is to testify that there is no God except Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and you have to perform your salat, to fast Ramadan, to give zakat, and to perform pilgrimage Hajj. But I think not generally all the Muslims know about that. But when you look at this hadith in depth, you will figure out that this hadith tries to establish two types of relationship. The first of
Okay.
all is a vertical relationship, which is the relationship between humankind and God and Allah. This is the vertical one. When you come to prayer, is a vertical is, a duty. You have an obligation for a Muslim to do it. This is a vertical relationship. You don't do it for others, but you do it for Allah, for God's sake.
Okay.
When you come to Ramadan, to Siyam, and to fast Ramadan, is the same thing, kind of relationship. Hajj is the kind of the both. But when you look at zakat, we don't give zakat to Allah. We give it for the sake of Allah, but we give it to poor people in need, which means this is the vertical relation, the horizontal relationship between us and other people, and between us and the nature. And the general, we can say from that hadith that Islam tries to establish the relationship between human being and Allah in the first and vertical level, and also in the human being between human beings among us, and also between us and other animals in the horizontal and in the horizontal level. That's why I
Okay.
want to talk now. Money is something between us, not between us and Allah, but between us. We do it in the sake of Allah. This is where money come into the place, into the picture, because we are dealing with each other. We have transaction, we own property. How we have to deal with those things? If Islam is here to establish relationship between us and other people, that means Islam have a say in that matter. And I just want to have some few overview, a quick overview about, the importance of money in Islam. Money is very important. Islam has organized money in such a way which no one will be allowed to steal from other. When you look at Surah An-Nisa in Ayah 5, when Allah said, do not give the weak-minded your property, which Allah has made a mean of substance for you. Which means it's very important. It's a mean of substance. You have to maintain it. When you look at Abu Saki Shatibi, a Greek scholar, which say like Islam come to protect 5 important things, which is first of all, which is to protect the religion. The religion, which is Islam, because Allah has said that indeed the rights, the religion, and the side of Allah is Islam, which is Islam, to protect Islam. And to protect life, the second thing, and to protect intellect, and to protect progeny, and also to protect property, which is very important thing. I just want to establish a type of right related to property in Islam, because in Islam, property are very organized. When you look at that, we have 3 types of property in Islam. Ownership, or type of ownership or right in Islam. The first of all is the right to own something, which is uniquely for human being. Other things cannot own something, like the cat, a dog. Animals cannot own anything in Islam. A human being alone or uniquely can possess something. The second thing is the right to use something. I give you my phone, mobile phone, anything, my car, you can use it. It is a right to use it. This right is given by the owner of that thing. And when it comes, the right to give also is uniquely for the property, for the owner. I have only the right to give what I own to other people. No one can do that. Which say like property is very well organized in Islam. Yes, I think that just to establish a general background about what is Islamic finance. But before coming to to Islamic finance, but this I think how religion can, and you can see how religion and money can be. Which say religion have Islam have a say in when it comes to money.
Yeah, that is quite a brilliant introduction. Thank you very much, Brother Abdul Majid. And actually, from the Sharia point of view, maybe to remind our people that what Brother Abdul Majid was trying to say is Islam and money, because Islam is a complete way of life. So it definitely had to organize the business transactions and the way people have to conduct themselves and their relationships. And one of the important relationships is that of established as a result of transacting by way of exchanging goods or trade. And in the Islamic law or the Islamic jurisprudence, there is a whole book of commercial or business transactions, Kitab al-Mu'amalat. And this is where most of the contemporary debates about Islamic economics, Islamic finance, Islamic banking come from. They come from that part of the Islamic jurisprudence, which is where scholars discuss a number of issues about business. And which brings me to a very good question, Brother Abdul Majid. When we look at money and Islam in the contemporary world, we hear terms like Islamic economics. We hear terms like Islamic finance, Islamic banking, and I believe these are things we can help our viewers understand.
Yeah.
So what is this thing, Islamic economics? And how does it differ in summary? Why do we need it? Where is the uniqueness?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Islamic economy, like you have economy, when you say Islamic economy, that means there is economy which is not Islamic. And which means like when you talk about economy, normally Islamic economy come to the the macro level. And the macro level, how the state can organize, his transaction, everything, like about the public finance, taxing, and all this stuff. But normally in the recent world, there are little, literature about that, talking about Islamic economy and the macro level, how the state have to organize. His the money and the modern society is like that. Few literature in Islamic economy about that. But it's all because it's not just how, because if in Islam, if something, the trade of something is forbidden, it production also is also forbidden. You cannot, you cannot produce what you cannot sell. The same thing when it comes to the economy and itself. They will say, okay, economy is about organizing stuff and how we produce and for whom we produce and how we produce, for whom we produce. The three big question about the economy. But if something is not tradable, that means it's not producible. Alcohol, an Islamic economic perspective and state, it shouldn't be allowed to produce alcohol at all because it's not tradable. And at the same thing, pork, which is when it comes to pork, gambling, pornography, firm or corporation, anything which is forbidden in Islam, shouldn't be an Islamic economic perspective point of view shouldn't be allowed to produce in that economy. This we are talking about the macro level. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So those are very really wonderful insights that on a macro level, Islam, if something is prohibited, even its production is prohibited. So we cannot say it is haram to take alcohol, then we allow or we provide for it in the legal system. We cannot provide for the production of alcohol because it is haram. So Islamic economics, we are talking about the macro level and how the policies of the government are uh, supposed to regulate the business transactions, and that is very important. What about Islamic finance?
Yeah, finance, Islamic finance. When you talk about when you say about finance, it's just about what's finance. And first of all, is how to get money, to get financing for something, and your finance is your investment is my finance because I need money for a project, and for that sake, I will go and seek money. When you finance my business, is an investment for you and is a financing for me. That, but when it comes to Islam, is the way we finance, we trade, we do those type of transaction based on Sharia law and Islamic law. This is Islamic finance, which is when you look at mainstream finance now, well, conventional financing is all about debt, and debt financing, which is interest, which is forbidden in Islam because is riba. When you go at you go in deep, because if you are specialized in finance, you will see like how financial institutions operate among each other. It's all based on borrowing, to borrow and lend money. Because when you talk about finance now, the finance, the main structure in finance is about debt. When you look at debt market, is the biggest, the largest market in the world, is almost trillions of dollars of debt market. How states get financed? By debt. How institution, corporation, everything is financed. Most of them is financed through debt, which is forbidden in Islam. Because if you take debt, you have to to pay money, because we have the concept in this finance which they call the time value of money. Because a money have a time value. Because today dollar is more than tomorrow dollars, because of the inflation and also because of the investment, opportunity cost. Because if I have $1 today, I can invest it to get more than $1 tomorrow. And also, what $1 can get today, you cannot get it tomorrow. That means the call is that the time value of money is a big, one of the major concepts in finance, which is called time value of money. But if you give me your money for for 10 years, okay, for 1 year, for anything, you cannot give me that money back. Because if you give me the same thing, I will be losing, because I cannot have what I could have with that money before. And in the same thing, I could invest that money to gain more money. That's why you have to pay that value for me, which is interest bearing, which is forbidden by Islam. But Islam have lots of contract which is can fulfill the same need, which is not based on riba or on interest.
Thank you very much. And I see people are just coming in. For those who have just joined, we are with Brother Abdul Majid, trying to explain and explore Islam and money, talking about Islamic economics, Islamic finance, and the debate is just beginning. The discussion is just beginning, and it is going to become even more interesting. And Brother Abdul Majid, we might need to check with our viewers to see what they are saying.
Okay.
Let me see. How can I? Okay, there is Semakula Fahad. Someone is asking. Someone might be in haram finance already. How can I advise him or her to withdraw all his or her investments? So I think we shall get to such questions. We shall talk about people who are already involved in the haram finance. Mm? And by haram, we mean the kind of finance which does not conform with the Sharia principles, with the Islamic laws.
Mhm.
And there are already people, actually, most of the people are already involved in this. How can we help them come out?
Okay, I think yeah, it's question a tricky question because I mean nowadays yeah because this what I'm trying to figure out. I mean now it's too easy to say to people. I mean stop doing haram, stop financing. I mean your I mean your consumption, your business through banks. But I think that's very easy. But I think what we should be doing is that how we can provide alternative financing for Muslim communities, even non-Muslim. I don't care if you're Muslim or non-Muslim, but to provide those type of finance and to give people choice to choose. But if there is no choice, that doesn't make it halal for you. I mean, to get financing from bank or anywhere, it doesn't make it halal. But if you are in it, you have to try. I mean, I think yeah, you have to go to I mean the financier to try to I mean to get out of that contract if as possible as you can because riba is something is very one of the major sin because you can say because it's type of and our modern life is tight and we see okay it's a very easy it's not easy because Allah has declared a war against who to deal with riba against Allah and his prophet which is a very a major sin I think for who is dealing with riba right now, he's trying to do his best and to withdraw her money or investment from that as soon as he can and as soon as possible, and try to figure out ways where which we can invest those money and way which is aligned with his belief or his I mean Islam.
Yeah, and I thank you very much. And maybe to add on what Mr. Abdul Majid has said, for such specific uh, questions, we might need to know a little more about the kind of finance the brother Semakula Fahad is already involved in, because we cannot pass a fatwa here. Okay,
Yeah,
we cannot pass a fatwa because for a fatwa to be passed, we might need to first of all study his business, his kind of finance, analyze everything, and help them get out if they need to get out. Sometimes people think they are doing haram business when it is not,
yeah, that's right.
and when it is still just a matter of interpretation between scholars.
Yeah,
So sometimes we need to hear and get to know about the whole business and the flow of the business and where the money is invested. Then we can advise accordingly. You could just reach out to the 1 minute series Soul Cocktail. Just send us a message. We probably could attend to this question in a more detailed manner. Yeah, let us see if there is another question. Uh, Good explanation. Fahad is thanking you, and
okay, thank you Fahad too for listening.
let us see. You know, our viewers are used to asking instant questions. Okay, so we need to see if we have not missed any. Someone, if all right, we can proceed now as they are coming in. Brother Abdul Majid,
Yes,
we have so far talked about uh, Islam and money. And we have already established that Islam, since it is a complete way of life, it has well stipulated guidelines for every single aspect of life.
yeah,
And one of the most important aspects of life is money and how Muslims should handle their money. However, we are still analyzing the contemporary terms, okay? The
yeah,
terminologies we're using right now. We hear of Islamic economics, Islamic finance, Islamic banking. This is what we are still trying to understand. Then maybe later we shall ask you, Brother Abdul Majid, to tell us
mhm,
the development of the industry because we need to understand what is happening all
mhm,
over the world, how profitable it is. And maybe in the coming webinars, we shall be able to open up
yeah,
and go even in a detailed discussion, about such matters. But now,
mhm,
whenever we talk about finance, there is another term which comes along with it: finance, microfinance, and
yeah,
banking.
yeah,
These are things we need to understand. Maybe our viewers know something about them, but
mhm,
we need to understand why Islamic.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. When it yeah,
microfinance.
yeah, when it comes to microfinance, it's like the same finance. It's the same thing. Just is maybe. and finance, because big banks or financial institutions, they give maybe huge amount of money for financing. But when you come to the micro level, I mean, sometimes you have some small businesses, SMEs, some small businesses, they need just maybe $10, $15, $100, $10,000, which is the quality microfinance, which try is just a financial institution which try to help, I mean, those small businesses to grow, to get them financing, which are, I mean, the mainstream bank, I mean, the established bank cannot, I mean, support those kind of people. And microfinance have done tremendously successful work in the world. I mean, and normally in the developing countries, I mean, when you look at India and Bangladesh, even one of the Bangladeshi guy, I mean, owned the Nobel Prize in Peace because of establishment of microfinance in Bangladesh, and he have done a tremendous work. But when it comes to Islam, because most of those, I mean, mode of financing and those businesses, microfinance is based on loan. Like you take money, you go, you do all your financing, and you get money back, and you pay with interest, which is forbidden for Muslim because it's riba. But when it comes in Islamic microfinance, they're trying to finance is the same type of, I mean, financial institution, but the difference is they follow Islamic law, Sharia compliant product to finance, I mean, their client, to give them, it can be based on type or one type of the, I mean, it can be murabaha, which is can be murabaha, which is still on marge. It can be also by lease and different type of Islamic contract. I mean, that's just the difference. But when it comes to Islamic banking, and because when you talk about banks, banks are financial institutions, which accept deposit and provide loan or provide financing. This is the same. I mean, bank, everyone knows what the bank are. But in Islamic banking, it's the same thing. Like they try to follow Islamic law by dealing with their client. But sometimes there's another term which is close to Islamic banking. They call it Islamic window, because Islamic banks, like most of them, they are major, I mean, fully established Islamic bank. In the UK, we have right now 5 fully established Islamic bank in the UK. But normally, sometimes there are some conventional banks, which, I mean, there are maybe in some maybe Muslim communities or Islamic Muslim communities that try to establish a window, like which can help Muslim consumer or Muslim client to provide Islamic finance, I mean, project for those people. They call it Islamic windows because is part of the conventional banking. And you have a lot of big banks here. They have some kind of, I mean, Islamic window. Even HSBC used to have that kind of, I mean, the window, and because it's closed, but it's normally Islamic windows are part of conventional banks, but they have a special, I mean, agents or a special branch which provide Islamic finance, I mean, financing for Muslim client or whatever.
Well, that is very important, especially for those watching from Uganda, because in Uganda, with the laws, the Financial Institutions Act 2004 was just amended in 2016, and the Financial Institutions Regulations were passed in 2018. So the country or the government is trying to regulate Islamic banking. So talking about these things is really very important, because we might not have a fully fledged or a fully compliant Islamic bank yet in Uganda. We are most likely to start with Islamic windows, which Mr. Abdul Majid was trying to establish. So that window will be operating in accordance to Sharia, to Islamic law. So when those banks get to open up or to set up these windows, we encourage Muslims and non-Muslims actually to just go for them. And we don't need any fatwa that prohibits. We have quite a number of challenges, Brother Abdul
Yeah,
Majid.
yeah, you're
I'm
right.
afraid we might be looking at a situation where we are trying to create solutions for
Mhm.
our people.
Yeah.
And there comes another sheikh,
Mm-hmm.
another person who understands something about Islam, and they say it is actually haram to go for a window.
Mm-hmm.
The Islamic window is our way to start Islamic banking. So when we start Islamic banking in Uganda, practically, because right now it is still uh, the inception period, people should go and try to enroll and utilize that chance. So the Islamic window is something, and Islamic banking is another thing for the case of UK, you're better. I mean, in the
Pardon?
UK, you're better. You have 5 fully Sharia compliant
Yeah,
banks, and
yeah,
that is
the UK, yeah.
quite wonderful for us. Not anyone, but we are headed there, inshallah. We are
Yeah, you
doing our
have, but yeah, I mean, even in my country, Mali, which is 95% Muslim, we have no Islamic bank there at all. I
yeah.
mean,
Talk
yeah,
about Mali, and how is the Islamic banking and finance so far doing in Mali?
not very well, because there is no, I mean, in my best of my knowledge, there were any, I mean, there is any Islamic bank, fully Islamic bank, and even Windows, they have some Islamic finance advisory, maybe corporation company for consultancy. You can get those type of, but an Islamic bank, no. But Islamic Development Bank in Saudi Arabia, I mean, in Jeddah, trying to establish an Islamic bank. They got a license since 2012. But the problem is because of the coup d'etat, I mean, the military coup in Mali, and because of the trouble and northern part of Mali, because of security and all this stuff, I mean, they couldn't be able to, I mean, to establish those banks and to start operating. But even in our level, we can, they say BCAO, I mean, the Central Bank of West African states, and have also amended, I mean, the law to try to, I mean, to bring Islamic finance, I mean, Islamic banks, and to regulate about microfinance, Islamic microfinance, and Islamic insurance, which is takaful. Maybe we'll be talking about later, and all
Yeah,
this.
I think
But
we are going to talk about takaful just after
yeah,
this. Uh, uh, so, Brother Abdul Majid,
yeah,
we have really not exhaustively, but we have tried to throw light
yeah,
on the relationship between Islam and money
yeah,
on a macro level, on a micro level, and maybe on a micro level we shall not go deeper because that is mostly fiqhul mu'amalat,
yeah,
and people need to know how to transact in halal in
yeah,
halal dealings.
yeah,
But now, maybe to remind our fellow Ugandans, Islamic microfinance is already uh, uh, in play. So those ones who might wish to go for it, it is already there, even though the regulations are not yet out, but the law provides for that. And now let us check with our viewers and see if there is a question, Brother Abdul Majid.
okay,
Um, okay. The problem with the viewers, someone is saying we are using a lot of technical terms. If we can try to break them down,
okay.
we try to let everyone in, everyone understand. And thank you, Brother Abdul Majid. That is a nice contribution. We are going to try to break every term, and maybe we should try not to go very fast
Yeah,
because this is a little bit technical. It is specialized knowledge, and then therefore specialized terms. So we need to be careful
yeah,
such that our people can follow.
yeah.
Brother Fahad, please go ahead and ask any question. Don't worry, inshallah. Um,
Maybe also if they have any technical word, because sometimes they don't understand, maybe they can ask about that technical one.
yeah,
Maybe.
actually, if there is any technical word, any term you have not understood, this webinar is meant for you.
Yeah,
We're here to interact with you, and in case there is anything you don't understand, just ask, even if we need to pause a little bit and get to answer that. There is a question for you from the viewers, Mr. Abdul Majid.
okay.
There is a question here, Brother Abdul Majid. Uh, how how to refinance debt?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to talk about this, but he's saying, how can we refinance debt ridden people using
Mm-hmm.
Islamic finance in a profitable way? He has brought in another important term, which
Mm-hmm.
is refinancing. Can you
Yeah.
please start from there?
Yeah, I think to refinance, because these people have debt, but it's this a very special question. But I wonder what I wanna try to say, because in Islam, like, to make money on any financing, I mean, the contract should be based on two things. Otherwise, you cannot gain from it. The first of all, it has to be based on trade. Like any trade, they can make trade. That's why how Islamic banks operates. Normally, they make trade. If you need money, like, okay, let's have, I mean, very, I mean, quite, I mean, simple example. When you come to Islamic bank, you need a financing for something, let's say a car. Eastern Bank, they will not give you money, because if they give you money, they cannot get more than that money. They have to, collect the same amount of money, which mean like they will be going out of business for sure. And what they cannot do, okay, what you want to do with that money? Say, okay, I need a car. You give a matriculation, a model, everything, and the bank will go and buy that money for and with that car for you, and sell it to you, and you will pay it an installment, maybe in 10 years, but with a profit margin. But now I think I wanna. The second thing is through venture. You have to make venture to make money, which means you can own a piece of, equity on or a stake on some business, or establish a business, and maybe you can lose or you can win. From that, you can make money. But to refinance debt-ridden people in profitable way, I think what we can do is to try, to make them partners. Because in Islam you have, maybe let's say musharaka, which is a partnership. Now let's say, and an example, someone who is gut-ridden person. Let's say, okay, he's maybe a driver. Let's say he's a driver. He used to drive taxi, but now he's a gut-ridden. He cannot do. I say, okay, let's try to establish a business with you. I will finance you through mudaraba. Mudaraba, which I provide money, you provide labor. You can start from that. And you will be driving this car. Maybe let's say 20% is yours, and 80% of the business is mine, because I provide money, you provide labor. And we have to do through that. Through that, he can make money and try to pay his debt. Try paying his debt through that. Or there is something they call musharaka mutanakisa, which is partnership, but by the time you will be owning that asset, I can finance you through partnership. But in that partnership, by the time the financier share of that partnership will be reduced, decreasing, and the one who get the finance will be increasing. At the end of the day, you will own that piece of paper, or that piece of of asset, or business, or anything. I think that can be one of the way we can try to finance debt-ridden people. But there is no way we cannot give them debt back, but we can try to know what puts them in the first place in that debt in the first place. But I think like what we can do is to try to have a loss profit sharing contract to help those people to go to help those people. I think that can be maybe, or maybe you take an example of a farmer. Like a farmer, he pays a land. I don't have a land, I can finance this. He can work, and maybe we can have a percentage, 50-50 or 40-60, based on that. And they can try what they will gain from that business. That can help them to make the payment, or to pay those debt. But by the time, maybe they will be paying all full of those debt in full.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brother Abdul Majid. There are many questions now coming in.
Oh.
We need to talk about insurance and takaful before we proceed with the questions. And I will request the viewers to just hold on a little bit. You post your question, but let us first discuss insurance and Islamic insurance, so we can first of all understand these concepts. Then we can come back. We have a question, and someone is asking about our opinion on Islamic on mortgages generally. We shall not add the word Islamic yet, but they are asking about mortgages. Another one is asking about let me see. Someone is asking how Islamic banking and finance is applied in the UK. We shall get back to that question.
Okay.
And let me see. Because these are important questions, but they need to be answered last. So I need to go through them. Someone was asking. All right. And we shall have these questions after this. Please let us talk about insurance. Such that now we have a clear understanding on Islam and money, economics, finance, banking, microfinance. These terms needed to be broken down. Now we are looking at insurance and Islamic insurance.
Yeah, I think I before that I would try just to have, to give, some rules. Some why those type of finance, why Islamic bank, Islamic economy, Islamic this, why this is not good, which what interest is not permitted.
Mm.
I think we just have to establish, to shed some light on the cause of prohibition in Islamic finance. I think that's very important. That can give people, more understanding of why this is forbidden or this is not forbidden. The cause of for prohibition in Islamic finance or in Islamic contract in general is three things. The first of is riba. Riba is a very complex word because I don't know, they will say usury, an English word, but it's not interest. Interest is part of the riba, it's not all the riba. When you're talking about riba, it's not just interest. Interest is an example of riba. And the second thing, they call it gharar. Gharar, which means excessive, uncertainty, like in gambling. That's why gambling is prohibited in Islamic finance, because they had excess, because we have 1 million, maybe over million chance to get, to win that lottery or anything. And the third thing is manipulation, which is called it. Gharar is manipulation. Jahala is excessive uncertainty, which is when the business have excess uncertainty, or any this type of excessive uncertainty. Takaful, insurance come under that, because when you go, you get insured from an insurance company. What they do, okay, give me, this, you will buy a policy from those people. A policy, you will give them money, they will give you maybe a piece of paper to mean like you are insured against this type of risk. If one of these happen to you, we're gonna pay you this sum of all to have to, I mean to solve the damage or anything, because you don't know what will happen to you. I don't know what will happen for me. This type of, of risk should be, an Islamic finance look at them as a charity. It should be, insured collectively, not individually. That's why you have Islamic takaful come into play, which means I cannot make money by ensuring people what will happen to them, because it's excessive gambling. You don't know what will happen to you. If you like, it's like a gambling. Because I give you money, if something happened to me, you pay me more than the, you will repair the damage. If nothing happened to me, you keep the money. It's the same. You go, you take a lottery. If you win, you take money. If you lose, money is mine. Is and anything is like a gambling. But this type of risk exists in businesses, in countries, and everything. But Islam look at those things as type of charity. If we want to do it, you have to do it collectively. This is why when you go at the, the contract and Islamic, insurance, companies, they have is a type of collective insurance, which means is based on, is it doesn't matter if something happened to you or not. It happened to someone. We all as a group collectively will help that guy or has that person to, to pay for his damage, because some type of risk is real. We have to be insured against, but we cannot do it individually or to profit from that. The insurance, what Islamic Insurance Corporation, companies do, they get fees by managing this money. The money is not you. Maybe let's say me and you and maybe the audience, we say, okay, let's establish an Islamic finance, Islamic, insurance company to insure against, I don't know, anything, maybe in Uganda. That's good. We will pay a sum of money to that corporation. The corporation will manage that money. Maybe they can invest that money in Islamic way. After that, if something happened to someone, maybe if it's the risk of disease or anything, they will help that person, to pay for the cost of health and everything, but collectively, not individually. But that company will make money by managing. They take fees by managing that money, but not what when you give them money, you pay money. That means if nothing happened to you, the money is mine, and if something happened to you, I will pay you more than you provided. And at the same time, like this is the concept of, why Islamic insurance exists, because the type of, insurance corporation we have, most of them are not, Sharia compliant. Insurance instrument this way.
Okay, thank you very much. And still, the word Islamic comes in, the word Sharia compliant comes in, because Sharia provides guidance on almost every single thing. So, this is why, in every key important aspect in people's lives, we shall have that thing, Sharia compliant. And it is very important for our people to understand that. We had a question here, as people were saying, now in countries like Uganda, where the Islamic banking system and Islamic finance is not yet developed fully developed, what can people do? Which brings me to the question that Ali, one of our brothers here, I think, is from Cote d'Ivoire, or right? Ali is asking, how is the Islamic finance conducted in the UK? Maybe we should talk about the trend in
Yeah.
Islamic finance.
Yeah, Islamic finance industry is booming. Like now, the assets under management is the 2.8 trillion US dollar, and is expected to be $4 trillion by 2023. And in the UK, UK is, I mean, is considered like a center of Islamic finance in the West. This is the UK, because now you have fully 5 Islamic Sharia compliant bank in the UK here, and I mean major, I mean many of, because maybe what we would have chance to talk about sukuk and Islamic. Most of the Sharia advisory, maybe company and corporation, if I mean you won't believe it, that based in the UK here, even when you try to issue a sukuk, sukuk is the Islamic bond, because the government finance their, I mean public finance or government expense through, I mean issuing debt, I mean giving taking debt from, I mean the general public or from investors. And this type of sukuk, maybe the consulting firm, most of them are based on the UK. Even not this, or more than 70% of Islamic sukuk are based on UK law.
What is an Islamic sukuk? I mean, we need to
Islamic
discuss.
is not Islamic sukuk, say sukuk is bond, like a bond and a government. When we have them, I mean the public budget, we have to finance the government, want to finance anything. It can be a corporation. They just issue a piece of paper like a bond. They give you that money, and I mean that paper. You give them money, and every year you pay you, I mean, a percentage of that money. And at the end of the, I mean, when the debt become due, and maybe 10, 5, 3 years, they will, give you the principal back to you. I mean, the money you paid before, they will give you back to you every year. That they call it sukuk. This is bond, which is Islam is they call it sukuk. Sukuk is the same thing like bond, and when is Islam is they call it sukuk. This is a term for, I mean,
Okay, so sukuk is the Islamic bond.
the Islamic bond. Normally, I say the Islamic bond.
Okay,
Yeah, but I think yeah,
the halal bond. I mean,
maybe halal bond. They can call it here halal bond. People don't like the term Islamic, but it's halal bond. What I mean, in Islamic and UK, there are a lot of, I mean, Islamic institution, I mean, Islamic banks, and also advisory firm and research. I mean, entity in the UK. I mean, dealing with Islamic finance, we have a lot of them, and I think is one of, because one of the in the UK here, one of the major vision is to make UK, I mean, the center of Islamic finance in the world, not just, I mean, in the West,
well,
but in the world.
let us wish you luck.
Yeah, this was a trying
Let us
to,
wish them luck. I mean,
yeah, this was a trying, and they are going because they have, I mean, groundbreaking research in that area. I mean, they are keen about it. They're keen. I mean, they are serious about it. I mean,
well, in Uganda, we are also serious about it.
no, because when I'm saying, yeah, you're right. But what I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
trying to say,
that was
they are
a
making
joke.
huge
I just
progress.
wish to let our people at home understand that this is something we are looking at with a very, very keen eye, and we need people to be aware that it is coming and it is already here. People to support it, because if we don't get involved, it cannot work.
Yeah.
Okay, so the UK is already trying to make it work, both on from a regulatory point of view, and the people are actually actively involved, like you can hear Mr. Abdul Majid
Yeah.
narrating. In Uganda, we are not yet there, but the regulatory system is really doing its work, and it has done a very good job so far. We are hoping to see some light in the
Yeah,
very,
hopefully.
very
Yeah.
near future,
Hopefully.
inshallah.
Yeah.
We are 45 minutes down the road, so we have like 15 minutes before our webinar ends, but there are some questions we might need to attend to. And do you want to talk about mortgage?
Yeah, the mortgage. You just what I mean. What's the real question? Because if the mortgage is just how to finance, a home, or you need a home, you go to the bank and they give you more and you pay it. I mean, in 30, 50 years. This is just what's not the mortgage. But I don't know what is the question exactly. is, I mean, that
Yeah, they wanted to see the Islamic how Islam looks at mortgages.
yeah, mortgages is almost, I mean, is the interest based instrument. I mean, it means it's based on interest, because you only go to bank, the bank will give you money. That money will take it to, I mean, to get a mortgage. Maybe they will, okay, will take the same, I mean, the asset to insure against the mortgage. All these details and Islam and how the bank operates. But at the end, you have to pay them more. You have to pay them installment, and you have to pay the principal, I mean, plus the debt. Principal is the money that bank give you. You have to pay installment, and there is interest in that, which is, I mean, will come to the same thing, which is, yeah, forbidden in Islamic law. But what Islamic bank do, I mean, alternatively, they have lot of, I mean, contract in Islamic, I mean, finance, which can, I mean, fulfill the same, I mean, the same need, but based depending on, I mean, on the type of the, I mean, the person who is applying for the mortgage, and depending also on their risk averseness, like how they like risk or they don't like risk, depending on their finance profile, how strong they are, how, I mean, wealthy they are. Based on all that, Islamic bank will propose, I mean, an appropriate or a suitable, I mean, finance need for them. But one of the, I mean, very typical example, Islamic bank, what they're gonna do, they will say, okay, this, let's say this money, I mean, this mortgage, I mean, costs maybe 1 million. Okay, the bank will take it at 1 million. They will buy it and resell it to you. Once they sell that, they will say at a margin. At a margin, which mean like maybe 10%. You have to pay maybe 100 and maybe 10, 100, 1 million and, I mean, 100,000, I mean, and maybe 20, 30, 30 years. But the problem which is come into play, people say, what's the difference? At the end, if I go to the, I mean, to the Islamic bank, they give me, maybe they will buy it. At the end, I'm going to pay the same amount of money. I will pay, I mean, the profit of margin. You call it interest, you call it, I mean, profit is the same thing for me as, but in the reality, the devil is the details. It's not the same contract. Because what I want to say, an Islamic bank, they, I mean, they take huge risk. What? Okay, let's say, let's try to start, because this, I mean, I think it's important to, I mean, to elaborate on this, to, I mean, to tell people that Islamic finance is not the same as, I mean, conventional one. When you go to the bank, okay, you approach an Islamic bank, you say, okay, I need Islamic, I mean, I need a mortgage. They will say, okay, that's mortgage. The first of all, what will be the contract between you and the Islamic bank when you go there? Because the bank doesn't own the mortgage, they have to find a mortgage somewhere to buy it and to sell it to you on a profit. At the end, once you go to the bank, you just give them the promise, because there's no contract in Islam. You cannot sell what you do not own. The Islamic bank cannot say, okay, I will say let's have a contract, because they don't have the mortgage. They have to go and buy that house first and sell it to you at on the margin. That means the first thing you talk to the bank is the promise. And we come to the question that is the promise, I mean, if you broke your promise, what will happen to the Islamic bank? This is the risk they are taking. Because at the end, if you don't show up, they have to bear that risk. Maybe they will, I mean, buy a home and say, okay, we'll sell that home to you, and you don't show up. What's gonna happen to them? This is a risk, a major risk they're taking. And this is the first of the thing. The second thing, the difference is, if you default in conventional banks, what will happen? They will take the mortgage to you and sell it and get their money back. But Islamic bank cannot do this. It's different, because this, you owe that money, you own it, because it's in your made, because the trade has been made. Maybe Islamic finance have some tool to, I mean, to mitigate the risk, but at the end of the day, this land or this property is yours. They cannot take it like how the, I mean, the other mainstream bank do, and just recoup their debt and do everything. But I want to say that, I mean, I cannot go through all of it, but I think that there are a lot of difference between Islamic finance and, I mean, mainstream, I mean, financing is a very big difference between them.
Well, thank you very much. And like you said, we cannot exhaustively tackle all these issues, but the purpose of this webinar was to make an overview, was to bring the picture closer, to talk about the general view of Islam when it comes to money, and then talk about the contemporary terms that are being used in the industry. So people have already understood what Islamic economics is, and they've already understood what Islamic finance, banking, and insurance and the differences. At least this information should be helpful enough for someone to understand one thing or two about the about Islam and money and the relationship. And definitely, we are going to be doing a number of webinars. I pray that you accept our invitation next time to go into specific details, because from our viewers, I can see we are having quite a number of beautiful questions. And I think these are topics that need to be handled in a very separate manner, or maybe separate webinars. But before we proceed, because we have like 10 minutes, we can also
Yeah,
choose to answer and respond to a few questions, if you don't mind.
yeah, yeah. Please go ahead.
Um, Let me see. Okay, as I look for the questions, Mr. Abdulmajid, if you can please give us an overview about Islamic finance and the Islamic economics in general. Where are we now? Are there countries that are doing better than the others? I mean, uh, what
Yeah,
can you tell us about the trend?
yeah. The trend, yeah, there are lots of development in Islamic Bank when it was established in 1970s. I mean, now we have. I mean, the last. I mean, I've seen a report about 2017, which like we have more than 505. I mean, Islamic banks in the world right now, and 51 countries in the world,
In
and they are
51
doing very. Yeah, 51 countries in the world. And the top country in Islamic finance is Malaysia, which is very, and to tell people that Islam is not for Arabs or for, I mean, for some kind of people, it's for everyone. Islamic finance, I mean, you have, I mean, Malaysia is the top number one country in Islamic finance in the world. I mean, when after that, even, I mean, people will say maybe Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the fifth. I mean, when you go to the list, is the fifth. After Malaysia, you have Bahrain, you have Iran, you have United Arab Emirates, and Saudi come in the picture. And which is, I mean, to say there are lots of development in Islamic finance. Now, even central banks are trying to adopt Islamic finance as a tool, because of when you look at someone who, I mean, studying finance very well, you will see what happened in Islamic finance. I mean, and finance industries. How, I mean, when maybe I don't, maybe many of us, I mean, remember the 2008, I mean, 2008 crash, financial crash, because when it happened, everyone, I mean, feel it some way. We don't know what's the cause, but you know, and all, if you can see, look at Islamic banks. I mean, reports have shown, I mean, evidence that none of Islamic bank has been touched. I have been, I mean, has been, yeah, affected by that crash. Why? Because the main source of that crash was debt, I mean, restructuring, like try to sell debt. And Islam, you cannot sell debt. Debt is not an instrument, it's not an asset, and it's and per se. But that's why you cannot sell. But it was all based on that. I mean, the greedy. I mean, it was greedy. I mean, that greedy behavior to try to resell debt. You have debt, I will resell it to you, and debt, it come a bubble and it burst, and it happened. People, I mean, it was, I mean, the biggest financial crash since, I mean, 1928, which is what very sad. But many Islamic banks are not suffer from that because they're not dealing with that type of of transactions, because it's forbidden for them. And I think there's a lot of, development in Islamic finance industry, and people are becoming aware about Islam, because maybe in 30, maybe before 2000, maybe no one heard about, most of us don't heard about Islamic finance at all. We don't know the Islamic bank, Islamic microfinance, takaful, which is Islamic insurance. But now people are seeing, I mean, trying to become more aware. I mean, more awareness is, I mean, now to say, okay, we have Islamic bank, I have to do it, and that. And I think we have to do more, especially for the scholars and, I mean, business owner, entrepreneurs. This is our duty to try to help our communities, because I believe, I mean, strongly in Islamic finance. But we cannot just say, okay, Islam, because most of, I mean, the scholar, I mean, and in West, so I don't say that, I won't say the capitalistic system, but I want to say the world, I mean, global financial system has a problem, because is the inherent problem in it. The crash will happen every time, because when you go to, maybe it's more technical words, they call it, I mean, engineering, I mean, financial engineering, how to try to engineer financial instrument, which is very, is a very deep, field of knowledge. They try to do everything, but if some have some rules, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. To try everyone to play a fair game in the market. But I think Muslims have to be close to, our religion and to our belief, and try to, to establish this type of cooperation. We need business, we need finance people, investors to, because it have to be a collective duty for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have 5 minutes to go, and we have, I don't know, tens of questions.
Wow.
So we cannot answer all the questions uh, in this webinar, but we shall be responding because we're going to read the comments, and we shall be responding to your questions after the webinar. No worries. But Brother Karamoko Mokhtar is
Mm-hmm.
asking if Muslims can allowed to use the conventional banks in places
Mm-hmm.
where there are no Islamic banks, and that is more of a fatwa that needs to be passed. I
Mm-hmm.
believe we cannot subject the whole Muslim community in a given area
Mm-hmm.
to be damaged financially. So Muslims are allowed to engage in such, get involved, but the most important thing is not whether they are allowed or not. The thing is, what are the Muslims themselves doing to establish a better financial system for themselves? So we need to see Brother Karamuko Mukhtar leading a revolution. We need to revolutionize. We need, as Muslims, to go ahead to take part of to get involved in the system, such that we can be able to create a favorable, environment for the Muslims to financial. In terms of the regulations, in terms of everything that we need. So I think it is time Muslims stopped to worry about whether they are allowed to get involved in these banks. It is time for Muslims to be asking, what can we do? We need to start acting, to start trying to establish Islamic banks, not to just always be on a catch up. So we need to monitor the quality of the questions we are asking. Otherwise, we shall not be able to compete favorably in the coming times. So, Brother Mukhtar, I think I have answered that question. I know him. He's more of a philosopher, so he has the point. And mm, Brother Ali is adding something. I want to add to the explanation about sukuk. It is holding on the asset, okay, on the asset management to issue sukuk, piece or paper. Thank you, Brother Ali. Brother Ali is an expert in Islamic finance. I know him, so he's trying to make a contribution, and that is very very nice of him. Um, so as we wind up, Brother Abdul Majid, there are many, many questions. At least I have learned. Rasla Jafar is like, at least I have learned something, and I will be honest, not all, but in the time I will learn. Of course, sometimes what we call learning as a person, we go to school to learn what we don't know. The moment you know what you don't know, you have learned. Okay, we do not go to collect things so we can know them. We know so we can know what we don't know, and then we can go ahead and research. So, Rasla, please go ahead and read about it, make some research. It is all over the internet. Let us learn. Thank you very much. Uh, okay, okay, there are quite many, many. Someone was asking if zakah uh, is meant to protect our money from risk. Why do we need insurance?
Ah. Okay.
Can respond to that very fast.
No, okay. I think we say the world is a risky place. We cannot say like the cat is there. This is a spiritual, protection for you, but not, a material or physical one. Risks are there, and they still are there. There's some type of risk, maybe risk of disease, risk of accident, car insurance. Lots of things happen, but not life insurance. Life insurance not permitted in Islam at all. But I'm talking about even business insurance. Because why insurance try to do? We have some asset in the company. Like they call it, zero sum game. Zero sum game mean you lose, I win. The problem with that is that because let's say, the asset or the present asset of of a company of as a community is just say 1 trillion, okay, or 1 billion. When this get bust, let's say for earthquake or accident or fire or anything, this the amount, the asset of the property of that community will be reduced for sure, which is not good for them. Something can happen. But what we can do, we can say, okay, collectively, we try to protect that asset we have today. If something, unthinkable, happen to it, we can collectively build that. Even is a build anything, any type of asset can be insured, but collectively. And the insurance company cannot just make money from that, because it shouldn't be a gamble. You give me money, when you lost, I will pay you. When you you didn't lost, something happened to you, I will pay you or not. This, it shouldn't be like this. But I think we need insurance company. I think insurance corporation, an Islamic way, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, brother Fahad. There is a theological bit of his question, and there is a practical and economical bit of it. So zakah purifies your wealth, and insurance helps you mitigate the risks or how to get out of the risk in case you get harmed. So there is no contradiction. They are both Islamic, and we should do both. If you don't need to insure, it's okay. But if you have a business and you employ people and there is a risk, you may need to insure, because Islam commands that we protect money, and insurance is one way to protect property. وَمَا لَا يَتِمُّ الْوَاجِبُ إِلَّا بِهِ فَهُوَ وَاجِب. So you have to insure against such risk. And you have also pay zakah, brother Mawanda Fahad. Thank you very much. So it is right about time, brother. And I think that marks the end of our webinar. If you have any last words, brother Abdul Majid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is right about time. I think we are our webinar has come to an end. And if you have any final words you would love to pass over to the community.
Yeah, I think not much to be said. Just to just try to to encourage my scholars and business owner, entrepreneur, everyone, any Muslim, you are an investor or a business owner, to try to know more about your religion, and try to be close, to try to do everything you can do in the Sharia compliant way. You try to do the best, and you mentioned something very important, which is like it's a collective duty, not just for someone, just for scholars. You need regulator, you need business people, you need business owner, you need entrepreneur, we need regulator, we need political leaders. All of this, it's a political, a collective duty. You have to try to push to help, because we help ourselves. If you can help our brothers, I mean to excel in their businesses by giving them finance, because everyone knows how finance works. It's very Money is a scarce resource. Everyone knows that. When you go to business, you have good idea. If we establish those financial institution, how many businesses will be able to finance? How many entrepreneur will be helping them to create their business? How many maybe entrepreneur? How many good idea? How many research will be able to finance? Lot of stuff can come, but we have to start somewhere. It's not What is not a perfect place. Everyone knows, but you do what you can with what you have. I think that's you can.
Yeah, thank you very much. That is very brilliant. We hope to host you next time. I mean, soon, because I see you have left a lot of questions unanswered, and we shall keep them for you. To our viewers, thank you very much for following.
Okay, inshallah.
I understand there have been quite a number of technical terms. It has been quite a different topic from the topics we usually handle, but this is what Soul Cocktail does. This is what 1 Minute Series does. We're here to educate. We are here to teach. We're here to share information. We're here to share knowledge. So please, if you have not understood something, it is time for you to look for it, for you to research about it. Let us make use of technology. Let us make use of our sheikhs. Let us make use of our knowledgeable people, so we can learn and learn and learn. When you stop learning, you die. I mean, that's it. When you stop learning, you die. So thank you, Brother Abdul Majid. See you next time, inshallah.
Okay, thank you for having me, and thank you for the audience.
Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.